Let's go back to that first doodle that you did when you came in. We're going to get up and move around. I'd like you to take this and try it on other people's doodles. Just try it. Does anybody need one?
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah. I'm curious on yours, like. On yours and also other people, you're welcome to get up. We're just asking you to step over here. Yeah.
Everybody is going to shift to another chair. So I'd like for you to find the doodle that has something that you wish you could have. And I'd like for you to take a piece of paper with you and sit down there and copy that doodle. Get it?
Do we want to be on newsprint?
Yeah.
Are we taking the real paper?
Maybe you should take a heavier paper. Take a heavier paper there. Use the same colors that person used.
Use the same colors?
Yes, copy it.
The same shape?
Thank you. This is quite fascinating.
Oh, good. I'm glad. There you go. That's great. You got it. You got it. Yeah.
Somebody right here.
Oh,
good. Nobody took it. It flew all the way over. Oh, it was following me. It was following me. Going around and doing many or just one?
Well, if you can, that would be great. Yeah, you could pick up from more. That would be great. This is a very good family therapy exercise, by the way. Just copy somebody else's doodle.
How far do we go with it? I mean, it's something quick.
Well, it's up to you, but I want you to take it all the way so that you experience something different than what you would have done. So just see what it's like. You would have never done what you're looking at now. And see what it's like to try doing something that's very different. We don't need music with those children's voices in the background, it's wonderful. Creating all the music we need. So then if you go back to your own place and carry on with your own doodle.
On top of what I copied.
Yes, on top of or around or, in it. It might be nice
Not back to this, not back to mine.
No,
onto this
here,
one.
this new one now. Yeah. So is this what you picked up? Wonderful.
What I did.
Now doodle on it.
Yes.
Here, make this work with your own doodle.
Oh my. They're so different, aren't they?
I know, yes. That's the wonderful idea. Now that you have picked up on somebody else's mark, continue to work that so that you have a sense, what's it going to take for this to work? When you bring your mark in on it, what are you going to do to make this work with your doodle? In that process, please ask questions if you have questions about that you're going to work on this heavier paper that you took around. You picked something up, you're going to use your doodle to make the whole thing work as a painting. But we're going to take a 15-minute break. Okay, good. So I want to say a little bit more about how this idea came about to pay this much attention to the doodle. I started teaching art and spirit at the university. Oh, great.
I loved it.
In the blacksmith shop?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. That was in the 70s. At that time, I was doing my dissertation about the psychology of creativity and the psychology of the creative personality. And I was really most interested in finding out what is it. Abraham Maslow was the first one to say, why are we always studying the sick people? why don't we start studying the healthy people and see what makes them that way? And I thought that was a wonderful idea, and particularly because he has such respect for the artist. So that got me going in that direction. And then wanting to understand, so what happens when we're creating? And going through a long period myself of hitting bottom, deep depression, while I was still living in Minneapolis, and wondering, how does this happen? My art came so easy to me, and then ran into this block. And I think that's where the whole thing about personality and am I just so strange that this is what happens, and found my way to study that here at UC Santa Cruz with Frank Barron and Pavel Mahaka up at UCSC. So as we started working more and more, teaching the stages of the process, statement of intention, I'm going to do this, gathering, what do I have to work with, how do I connect the dots, what are the dots, what's beginning to make sense to me. The process takes over, you can't stop, it just goes, and that's elimination. And then following that is reflection and validation. Those are the two that we don't pay enough attention to stop and look at what is it that we did, what is it that happened. And then we want to share it. We want to show somebody. You're going to want to show somebody something when you go home tonight, I'm sure. It's just built into us, except that unfortunately it is, we're told to, the old Calvinistic thing, you know, we should be modest and shy and such. But this is an important part of the creative process, to come out and be seen, having a one-person show, or having a book signing, or going to a dance concert, or to the theater, or even the movies. Going to the movies is all feeding into the collective unconscious and the creative spirit. So then I learned from Mary Holmes to figure out what you want to talk about. Mary used to say, if you don't know what you want to talk about, get out of the studio, you're just wasting your time. And that seemed true, but I didn't know what to do about it. But we were starting to do collage. And now I see how important it is to access the unconscious for our creative juice, because that's where it is. That's where the juice is, in our unconscious. So I find that the collages, which we do, are made from magazines. Go to a good bookstore and spend the money for some good magazines. Might cost you $100, but they'll last you years. And make a collage of what it is that you're interested in finding out about. It could be a certain kind of art. I do it when I have a problem, what to do with that. Or it certainly has happened a lot in the work that you see that's about the apple. So now I did collages about, well, what is it like when Eve bites the apple? And I realized that, you know, that's where the whole human potential movement started, or that's where the women's movement started. We bit the apple from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What have we done with that? You know, and so carrying on then with that material, I began to have deep feelings of anger about what was happening at the time that Hillary Clinton was not elected. And so my pieces became about wanting to get back into the garden, that women have been rejected, thrown out of the garden. I think men too, from the Garden of Eden. But we want a seat at the table. We want a seat at the table in the Garden of Eden. Now I've become interested in what happens to the apple. What's that about? How does the apple feel about being bit? And so, speaking of collage, I made a large collage, the usual collage, which is the size of this paper. And we progressed the collage. Some of you may be familiar with Carl Jung progresses the imagery from a dream. So if you were to go to him with a dream, he would have you act out the characters in the dream. And then you might choose one that's the protagonist in your dream. And he would have you take that further, progressing the imagery in the dream. So we're doing the same thing with collage. We're finding the image that we want to know more about and progressing it. So this is an example. Then when the collage is finished, I break it down to a workbook. So that which I'm most trying to get a hold of, the energy behind that, biting that apple and getting into it this way, and realizing that I'm just realizing there's something very sweet inside that apple. And I haven't accessed it yet. I need to do a collage about it. So I'm making a statement of intention right now in front of you all. And I will make a collage about the sweetness of the apple, because it's gotten such a bad rap. You know, it's the beginning of evil or something. And I'd like to, I think it has something to do with freedom, the positive side of what's going on right now. So, and then these other images, you would recognize the navigators, which was an image that I progressed. This would be an example of pieces of a doodle that have come into a form. These are other attempts. This last one I think is most significant right now. This is how does the apple feel about being bit. And this apple has been shot through with a gun. That's quite a remarkable. I mean, that to me is the biting of the apple. The gentleman that took this picture invented a camera that can take a picture of a millisecond. So he shot an apple, and this is what he got. It's quite a wonderful collection of circles and spikes and lines and mandala. You know, there's a lot of wonderful imagery in here to work with. As I carried on with the collage making and that article, I discovered this other photograph that the gentleman took. You can see I really use these in the studio because they get pretty ratty. This one. So when I saw this, I thought, oh, this sort of looks like an apple might look on the inside. It's a very nice, you know, all of it that's going on in it. And then I discovered that he took this photograph, and it is of the atomic bomb when it went off in Los Alamos. So this is Los Alamos down here underneath it, and this is the inside of the atomic bomb. So I'm following this imagery now, and then underneath this is Guernica. And so that to me is another bomb that went off and it's an example of how the collective unconscious came up through Picasso when war broke out, and he painted Guernica. And he painted it and painted it and painted it. There was a wonderful exhibition of it in New York at the Museum of Modern Art that I was lucky to get to see, and the hundreds of drawings, doodles, sketches that he did of Guernica before that happened. And it's such an example of how the collective comes up through the artist. It finds its way to be expressed. So that to me is a very important part of the process of you find out what you want to talk about. And I'm encouraging it to come from the unconscious so that we can be more intelligent human beings and more creative in our design of our lives. And then the final issue for me is the doodle. And that's seeing this individual style that each person has. It's so good to see you working on it right now, those of you who are into it now, that this is the individual voice. And this is what's being threatened today, is the individual voice. Anarchy is coming down and taking it from us. And the individual voice is our culture. It's how you can, if you wake up in the morning, you know whether you're in Watsonville or Santa Cruz. It's culture. And that's what we have to protect, because that's what gets taken down first. When they went into Ukraine, they take out the museums, they take out the schools, they take out the beautiful neighborhoods and homes, take down the culture, and you may no longer speak Ukraine in occupied Ukraine. You may only speak Russian. And yet it's even been, what?
Kennedy Center.
Yes, and the Kennedy Center to change that is, it's our statement of our art culture, and now that's being taken down. So we have to encourage the individual artists and those that have the courage to step out, and make their individual mark. We take it for granted now. We take for granted that Van Gogh was just doing what he was doing. That he took a big chance when he was painting the way he was painting, out of his soul, at a time when all the art was portraits of people and landscapes and still life. So then coming to the United States, de Kooning said, what are we going to do here? They've already done surrealism in Europe. What can we do that's American? Well, the natural thing is this, the mark, The immigrant comes in and steps on the land and makes that first mark. And so the abstract expressionists realized that's the birth of abstract expressionism. We have to say what America is about. So that explains a little bit of what art and spirit is about, and why the development of your style is so important. It comes right out of this mark and the development of it. Now you've taken something from someone else and built that into built your work into that. So this is like what's coming up from this collective. How has that been? Have any of you found that your style is shifted a little bit? Or, yeah, Judy, what would you say?
It's fantastic, because I really wanted to paint like these you did and you did, or somebody over there, and I loved it. And when I brought it into mine, it was like, oh yes, I've been waiting for that, and now here it is, and we're together. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. There's an American feeling about our culture that everything has to be original, and it only counts if it's an original. But as I've tried to point out, there is nothing original. It's all coming from a collective. And as I learned that, I thought this is going to be tough news for the artists. Find out that we're not creating anything that's new. We're just the vehicle for what wants to come up.
And I just did it in one color,
Yes?
and then which was red, and then I put yellow over it, and then I went into the green department.
All right. So it's taking on a lot more color, and your perspective is showing up now with your green, that it's clearly behind that line. You could finish this, and then I would ask you to make a sculpture of it. You see what a beautiful sculpture this would be?
No, but you do.
Yeah. Coming on there. I mean, let's see. Let me point that out. So here's the energy. This is quite exciting where the energy is. What if she made this as a sculpture with these points coming out of it? Or she made a round. This is really nice. This line is so nice. Just a little bit, and then coming around here again, probably, like that, would make a very beautiful sculpture. The form is smooth and flowing, and then there's this excitement here, something going on. And maybe even it's standing up on legs, it could be, but it's, yeah. Oh, wait a minute, this is yours.
This is mine.
And
I can, right? That's where you got it.
So yes, she got this from this. Beautiful. Is that right? I mean, how synchronous is this?
I was interesting to me to see, wait a minute, this is a copy from mine from a different
Yeah.
Remember the transformation, and that's, yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. May I, would you mind if I folded this?
No, go.
So, now some of you may want to do this. This is something I learned from Robert Sword, the poet.
Robert.
Yeah, oh Robert, if we miss him. This is very nice. This is very nice, just like this. Or like this. Yeah. Or like this. To, or, now, or this. Good sculpture. Or this. Yeah, would you this
And
with
that's
yours?
the same kind of thing we do when we use this, right?
Yes,
To find those places.
to break it down. Yes, yeah. One of the things that Robert would have us do is that you look at it like this, and then he gives you a prompt for writing. And so you look at this and you say, I always knew, and you take it off this. It's or once in a while I'd like to, and you take it off of this. You write about it. It's a very nice way of moving your work forward. Yeah. Yeah. And looking at it like that.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Let's look at another one. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
I got mine off of the woman over there with the blue and white.
Uh-huh. Could we see yours? And tell us about what happened. What was it that happened for you? What happened for you that's different? What were you doing before? What's your doodle like before this?
This one.
Okay. So you see the difference of just the practice of doing something that's like this. You know. So you took this quite a long ways. What was it like to take it this far?
It's fun. It's just doodling. It's,
Uh-huh.
you can't go wrong. Keep going.
Yeah, it's a good attitude. Well, there's so much more volume here in this one. And that looking for the volume, we haven't quite gotten there yet with our culture. That's why I like to do sculpture, because we're looking three-dimensionally at sculpture, and that exercises our brain a bit, which is good for us. We're very, very two-dimensional culture and very single-minded, so that to take somebody else's work and learn from it or expand, is goes against the way our culture wants to be the individual that can do it myself. What I do is enough. That we're really dependent on each other, and it's better when we work together. Let's see some more. Could I see yours? Sure. Yeah, what happened with yours? So this is your first one. And how does it go? This way or horizontal? Those little pieces of red are very interesting.
Yeah, I obviously stopped working on that one.
You stopped when you did the red, or it's one of the things that I learned in looking at collages was to follow the red. And thinking that this is just an isolated idea about the collages, I learned that from a psychologist from the University of Sao Paulo, and that they're doing something similar. Psychologically, there's a term called participation mystique. And it's a state of consciousness that we enter into when we're doing what we're doing. And so some of you are very involved in participation mystique right now. And that used to be a terminology for schizophrenia, to engage in this other state of consciousness and not be able to get out of it. But now we're learning that this ego strength is what enables us to go into it and come out of it and go into it. So when you said I need to take a break, I need to, and that I need to stop and look at it. All of that is that ego strength that understands that you're in it, and then you step out of it. So I've told about the study that Frank Barron did of the graduate art students at Berkeley, and artists that were institutionalized. And they were equally schizophrenic on the Minnesota Multiplicity. So what was the difference? Ego strength. That those who knew that they were in participation mystique, and now I'm hungry, it's time to leave, or there's a fire downstairs, I better get out of here, aware that they're in and out of it, was the difference. And I think this mark has got a big part of our understanding that. It's fun to follow your lines, how they're really on a trip. Yeah. Yeah. Let's look at somebody else's. Judy, could we look at yours? Yeah. Tell us what's going on here.
Well, so the really messy parts that have the colors and the black on them, I've been trying to do on a painting. I've had in my mind for like 6 weeks to doing a painting, but I could never be that messy. And then when I saw it, I looked at it and I absolutely loved it, and it gave me the invitation to be messy. So now I'm going to go back home and work on my painting because I love it.
Uh-huh.
So the yellow in the middle is my soul. And
Your what?
soul.
Soul. All
We're
right,
kind of
beautiful.
actually really one of the bodies. That's
Yes.
probably like more. That's probably more the spiritual body, or the. I haven't differentiated them.
Uh-huh.
It's like it'll have to get progressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very
So I was
nice.
super
Yeah.
excited to see like what I wanted to do, and then be able to copy it, and then just think, oh, like the invitation was fabulous.
Uh-huh. Great. Great.
A lot of energy to do it.
The ground is so strong. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be blue. There's going to be a top ground as well.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's going to be blue. I was just about ready to start that.
Beautiful.
So that the red is going to meet the blue.
Uh-huh. Beautiful. You have your blue line here waiting.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
So here's a good example of staying with it. Here's her original. Very nice. So the shapes here. And where did this come from?
The second one came from looking around at where artists were using straight lines
Yeah,
and shapes.
yeah.
The first one was where I began with my left hand and just let my left hand go all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And
You get a really good start when you start that with the line, and then it's wonderful when you give the line volume or a space like this.
It
You
looks
know.
like Kandinsky. I see Kandinsky in that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the transparency. Like you've got all of those elements. Like
Yeah.
the shapes,
Yes.
the overlap, and the transparency.
It's really nice. Yes.
I have to share, I just came today from the hospital. I got out about 11 o'clock.
Oh,
And I wanted to make sure that I could get here. And I noticed that my hand, as far as drawing, didn't feel right. But as time progressed,
uh-huh.
it was really nice release.
Oh,
Thank you.
wonderful. Good, good. I'm glad. Yeah. It's a beautiful piece. You're really nice. Yeah. Now, if Carmen were to progress this, she might, when she finishes it, let's say that she takes a board like this and says, what fascinates me? What do I want to develop more of? What do I want to know more about? And begin there next time. Just keep going with it, because it's, yes. So this is Leah's, and so Kim, you said that you copied it and then you went back and you did what you remembered after that. And so, so here's what, and so look at the form that she got out of that. It was really nice. Very nice. Let's do it the other way so that we can see this. So that process that you went through is very Chinese. They don't have plein air painters in China. They would never go out and paint the mountains or put a still life together. They go into the mountains and they might play the flute and they might write a little poetry, and then they go back and they paint what they remember. And I heard you saying that you did that you came back with your memory to do what it is. And that's why the Chinese were 200 years ahead of us in abstract work. It's way, way ahead of us. So when we came on with the books, the abstract work is so beautiful in the Chinese thing. And first I experienced that when I was in China and I was drawing a temple. It was so beautiful. I'm drawing the temple, and pretty soon the people are standing in front of me and I can't see what I'm drawing. But I learned that they figured I'd already looked at it. You'd already looked at it, So you look at it once. That's just imagine, that's the Chinese mind. They just, all they have to do is look at it and go back and create a computer. So we are taking notes, So that's a very interesting thing about picking up something and then letting your mind take it your own way. And so your mark comes in on it that way. It's really nice. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see another one. I'll take these. Who else is still working at this? Sean, can you show us what happened here?
Sure. Want to show yours? That's what it came from, hers. And this is what I did after copying hers.
And what had you done before?
This right here. Very different.
This is the beginning. And then you copy. Wow, what happened when you had to deal with that color?
Very different, I know.
Yeah.
I copied her colors on this one here are very different.
Yeah.
I stayed with her colors.
Great. All right. Wow. Let me see all these circles. All right. Now, if I were to suggest, I will suggest, if I were, that's silly. This is very circular. These are very circular. And I like the way the line is breaking up here. Like you take this and the line is breaking up. So now I would look for a sharp line to come through here, or a straight line, or an angle to come through here. I was so surprised to discover that this painting is by Edvard Munch. Doesn't look like a monk. I would have never guessed it. But look at the form that he got. He's working like you're working, but there's a form there and the lines are radiating off of that. And so that that radiation from this, how could you express the radiation in this with straight lines, which would be a counterbalance to the rounded lines, bring them into balance. So this other one that you did, though, is so nice. It's very strong. The red gives it a lot of, yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's take 10 minutes to work like this, everybody. Switch to your non-dominant hand, too, whenever you kind of wonder, what now?
Okay, yeah. These are all.
Maya, I'd like to put the tables together, and then people can bring their drawing one at a time, and we'll make one large drawing. So,
Put all the tables together?
yes, let's move the chairs out of the center here and move the,
I can start taking chairs.
yeah. Probably one more table here will be enough. We're going to build one big doodle, one piece at a time. That's probably good. Yeah, like that. So, and everybody take yours off the table. Let's just get it. So let's see what happens. Take your doodles off. I'll put mine on to start. And we're going to build. Now, who has a drawing that you'd like to connect to this? Maybe you've got a black shape or you've got some black lines that could go there, but let's do this. Yeah, there you go. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. Good.
Similar color. It doesn't really go that way. Maybe that way. Sort of similar colors.
Are we putting more than one down?
Yes, yes, yeah. Let's keep going. The energy is wonderful.
I'm going to shift mine a little bit more.
Oh,
Yeah,
very nice.
better.
Very nice. When you think that there's so much energy here, and it's so organic, you know, it comes from the depths, and to think that it's not being expressed. Never have to buy a tablecloth again. Beautiful. And just think, this is what wants to come up from the collective, and it's using us to do that. Beautiful to just track one after another, after another, after another, or how it leads us from one to the next, to the next. How connected, and you know, it's individual and yet so connected.
Right. They complement each other.
Yeah, yes.
Well, they're all from the same box of crayons, so all the colors are right?
Right, but some people are very imaginative in terms of mixing colors, and that's nice when that happens. But that's the development of it, you know, of finding out that you can mix colors or you can mix shapes. You can let things go off the page. When you think of all of this being repressed, then to me it explains why something like January 6th can happen, because there's so much repressed. We don't realize how Freudian we are, you know. It's so nice to see. Thank you, everyone. We've fed the well today. Blessings. Yes, yes. Good.